Eyob, Job, chapters 38 through 42. Eyob, Job, chapters 38 and 39. Then Yahuah answered Eyob out of the whirlwind and said, Who is this who darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Now gird up your loins like a man, and I ask you, and you answer me. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding. Who appointed its measurements, if you know, or who stretched the line upon it? Upon what were its foundations sunk? Or who laid its cornerstone when the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of Elohim shouted for joy? Or enclosed the sea with doors when it burst forth and came from the womb? When I made the clouds its garment and thick darkness its swaddling band, and assigned for it my law, and put bars and doors, and said, This far you have come, but no farther, and here your proud waves stop. Have you ever commanded the morning, and caused the dawn to know its place, to take hold of the ends of the earth, and the wicked be shaken out of it? It is changed like clay under a seal, and they stand out like a garment. And their light is withheld from the wicked, and the arm lifted up is broken. Have you come to the sources of the sea, or have you walked about in the recesses of the deep? Were the gates of death revealed to you, or have you seen the gates of the shadow of death? Have you understood the breadth of the earth? Declare if you know it all. Where is the way to the dwelling of light? In darkness, where is its place, that you should take it to its boundary and know the paths to its home? Do you know? For you would have been born then, and the number of your days many. Have you entered into the storehouses of snow, or have you seen the storehouses of hail, which I have kept for the time of distress, for the day of fighting and battle? Where is the way that light is divided, or the east wind scattered over the earth? Who has cleft a channel for the overflowing water, or a way for the thunderclaps, to make rain fall on land where no one is, a wilderness in which there is no man, to satisfy the wild and waste places, and to make the seeds of grass to sprout? Does the rain have a father? Or who has brought forth the drops of dew? From whose womb come the ice? And who gave birth to the frost of the Shamayim? The waters harden like stone, and the surface of the deep is frozen. Do you bind the bands of Kima, or loosen the cords of Kesil? Do you bring out the constellations in its season? Or do you lead the bear with its sons? Do you know the laws of the Shamayim? Or do you apply their rule over the earth? Do you lift up your voice to the clouds so that floods of water cover you? Do you send out lightnings, and they go and say to you, Here we are? Who has put wisdom in the inward parts? Or who has given understanding to the heart? Who has wisdom to count the clouds, or to tip over the pitchers of the Shamayim, when the dust hardens in clumps and the clods cling together? Do you hunt the prey for the lion, or satisfy the appetite of the young lions, when they crouch in dens, sit in the cover of their hiding place? Who provides food for the raven, when its young ones cry to El, wander about without food? Do you know the time when the wild mountain goats bear young? Or do you observe when the deer gives birth? Do you number the months they complete? Or do you know the time when they bear young? They bow down, they bring forth their young, their labor pains are ended. Their young ones are thriving, they grow up in the field. They shall leave and shall not return to them. Who let the wild donkey free? Who loosed the bonds of the wild donkey, whose home I have made the desert, and the salt land his dwelling? He laughs at the commotion of the city. He does not hear the shouts of the driver. The range of the mountains is his pasture, and he searches for all that is green. Would the wild ox be pleased to serve you, or spend the night by your feeding trough? If you bind the wild ox in the furrow with ropes, would he plow the valleys behind you? Would you rely on his great strength, or would you leave your labor to him? Would you trust him to bring home your grain and gather it to your threshing floor? The wings of the ostrich flap joyously, but they are not the pinions and plumage of a stork. She leaves her eggs on the ground and warms them in the dust, and she forgets that a foot might crush them or a wild beast tread on them. She treats her young harshly, as if not hers. Her toil is in vain, without fear, because Eloah has made her forget wisdom and did not endow her with understanding. When she lifts herself on high, she laughs at the horse and its rider. Have you given the horse strength? Have you covered his neck with a mane? Would you make him leap like a locust? His splendid snorting is frightening. He paws in the valley and rejoices in strength. He gallops into the clash of arms. He laughs at fear and is not frightened, nor does he turn back from the sword. The quiver rattles against him, the glittering spear and lance. He eats up the ground with fierceness and rage, and he does not stand still when the ram's horn sounds. At the blast of the ram's horn, he says, "Aha!" And from afar he smells the battle, the thunder of commanders and shouting. Does the hawk fly by your wisdom, spreading its wings toward the south? Does the eagle mount up at your command and make its nest on high? It dwells on the rock and lodges on the crag of the rock and the stronghold. From there it searches out the prey. Its eyes see it from afar, and its young ones suck up blood. And where the slain are, there it is. Eyob, Job, chapters 40 and 41. And Yahuah answered Eyob and said, Should a reprover contend with El Shaddai? Let him who reproves Eloah answer it. And Eyob answered Yahuah and said, See, I am insignificant. What would I answer you? I lay my hand over my mouth. Once I have spoken, but I have no answer, and twice, but I say no more. Then Yahuah answered Eyob out of the whirlwind and said, Now gird up your loins like a man, I ask you, and you answer me. Would you also put aside my judgment? Would you pronounce me wicked and you be declared righteous? Or do you have an arm like El? Or do you thunder with a voice like his? Deck yourself, please, with excellency and grandeur, and put on esteem and splendor. Scatter abroad the rage of your wrath, and look on everyone who is proud and bring him low. Look on everyone who is proud, humble him, and tread down the wicked in their place. Hide them in the dust together, bind their faces in obscurity. Then even I would confess to you that your own right hand saves you. See now, Behemoth, which I made along with you, he eats grass like an ox. See now, his strength is in his loins, and his power is in his stomach muscles. He bends his tail like a cedar, the sinews of his thighs are knit together. His bones are like tubes of bronze, his ribs like bars of iron. He is the beginning of the ways of El. His maker brings near his sword. For the mountains yield food for him, and all the beasts of the field play there. He lies under the slender trees, under cover of reed and swamp. The slender trees cover him with their shade. The willows by the stream surround him. See, if a river rages, he is not alarmed. He feels safe, even if the Yarden gushes into his mouth. Before his eyes, shall he be caught with snares or nose pierced? Would you draw out Leviathan with a hook, or snare his tongue with a line which you lower? Would you put a cord through his nose, or pierce his jaw with a hook? Would he keep on pleading with you? Would he speak softly to you? Would he make a covenant with you to be taken as a servant forever? Would you play with him as with a bird, or leash him for your young girls? Would partners bargain over him? Would they divide him among the merchants? Fill his skin with harpoons, or his head with fishing spears? Put your hand on him. Think of the struggle. Do not do it again. See, any expectation of him is disappointed. He is laid low even at the sight of him. No one is so foolhardy to wake him up. Who then is able to stand against me? Who has given to me first, that I should repay him under all the Shemaim that is mine? I would not keep silent concerning his limbs, or his mighty power, or his fair frame. Who shall take off the surface of his skin? Who approaches him with a double bridle? Who shall open the doors of his face with his frightening teeth all around? Rows of scales are his pride, closed up a binding seal. One to the other they fit closely, not even a breath enters between them. They are joined one to another, they stick together and are not separated. His sneezings flash forth light, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the morning. Out of his mouth go firebrands, sparks of fire shoot out. Out of his nostrils comes smoke like a boiling pot or kettle. His breath lights coals on fire, and a flame goes out of his mouth. Strength dwells in his neck, and fear leaps before him. The folds of his flesh cling together. They are firm on him, immovable. His heart is as hard as stone, even as hard as the lower millstone. When he raises himself up, the mighty are afraid. Because of his crashings, they are bewildered. No sword that reaches him prevails, spear, dart, or lance. He reckons iron as straw, bronze as rotten wood. The arrow does not make him flee. Sling stones become like stubble to him. Clubs are reckoned as straw. He laughs at the rattle of a lance. His undersides are like sharp potsherds. He sprawls on the mud like a threshing sledge. He makes the deep boil like a pot. He makes the sea like a pot of ointment. He leaves a shining path behind him. One would think the deep to be gray-haired. No one on earth is like him, one made without fear. He sees all that is haughty. He is sovereign over all the sons of pride. Eyob, Job, chapter 42. And Eyob answered Yahuah and said, You know that you are able to do all, and that no purpose is withheld from you. Who is this that hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore I declared, but I did not understand, wonders beyond me, which I did not know. Listen, please, and let me speak. I ask you, then would you make it known to me? I have heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eyes sees you. Therefore I recant and repent in dust and ashes. And it came to be after Yahweh had spoken these words to Eyob, that Yahuah said to Eliphaz the Temanite, My wrath has burned against you and your two friends, for you have not spoken of me what is right, as did my servant Eyob. And now take 7 bulls and 7 rams, and go to my servant Eyob, and offer up a burnt offering for yourselves. And let my servant Eyob pray for you, for I accept him, lest I punish you, because you have not spoken of me what is right, as did my servant Eyob. So Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite went and did as Yahweh commanded them, and Yahweh accepted the face of Eyob. And Yahuah turned the captivity of Iyob when he prayed for his friends, and Yahuah gave Iyob twice as much as he had before. And all his brothers and all his sisters and all those who had been his friends before came to him and ate food with him in his house, and they sympathized with him and comforted him for all the evil that Yahuah had brought upon him. And they each gave him a ketesah, and each one a ring of gold. And Yahuah barach the later days of Iyob more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep and 6,000 camels and 1,000 yoke of oxen and 1,000 female donkeys. And he had 7 sons and 3 daughters. And he called the name of the first Yemima, and the name of the second Keziah, and the name of the third Keren Hapuch. And in all the land were found no women so pretty as the daughters of Iyob, and their father gave them an inheritance among their brothers. And after this Iyob lived 140 years, and saw his children and grandchildren for 4 generations. And Iyob died old and satisfied with days.